Hello, this is Gary with Ultra Plumbing, and this video is going to explain how to replace a Moen 1225 shower cartridge, also known as a Moentrol cartridge. The first thing you want to do before you start this project is turn off the water to your house or condo and drain the water lines. You want to start by removing the cap that's hiding the screw for the handle. Just pry it off with a flat screwdriver like so. Then you're going to use a screwdriver to remove the screw that's holding the handles on. Sometimes it could be a Phillips screw, and sometimes it could be a flat screw like in the video. But either way, you want to remove that screw and then the acrylic plastic handle will come off. If you're replacing your handle, now is a good time to make a note that the stops are symmetrical on the back. That's important because they make another acrylic plastic handle where the stops are set differently, and that's for a different faucet. So basically, just make sure the back of your new handle looks the same as your old one. Next, you want to remove the stop tube, which is this tube right here. That's what hits the two stops on the back of the handle and makes it stop at the end for hot and cold. Once that stop tube's removed, you want to carefully remove this little horseshoe clamp that's holding the cartridge from coming out. Make sure you don't lose this little clamp because you're going to need that to put the new cartridge back in. These typically don't come with your new cartridge, so if you lose it or break it, you might have some difficulty getting one. Although I am going to put some product links in the video description, and in the product links, you can find these replacement horseshoe clamps. And while I'm speaking of products, here's a cartridge puller, which is another thing you're going to need for this project, and it's another thing that will be on my list. These two notches in the cartridge puller go to the left and right of the cartridge when you stick the cartridge puller on there, like I'm doing here. Then you want to tighten the little hex bolt at the end of the cartridge puller, and as you're doing this, it'll tighten into the thread of the cartridge. So just tighten it by hand all the way as I'm doing here, and then once you get that all the way tight, then you're going to start tightening the large nut, which will start pressing against the valve body like I'm doing here. Just snug it by hand until this large nut reaches the valve body, and then you're going to take a pair of pliers and start using them on that large nut while you hold the handle with your other hand like so. So you're going to hold the handle and just start tightening that large nut with a pair of pliers. You'll see as you start doing this, it will start pulling the cartridge out of the valve body. Just keep going until it pulls the cartridge out as much as possible. A lot of times you'll end up tightening the large nut until it won't tighten anymore. If you get to the point where you can't tighten that large nut anymore, you can start trying to twist and pull the cartridge out with the handle. Now, a lot of times the cartridge will come out relatively easily if you just kind of pull and twist as we're doing in the video, but sometimes it can be really hard. So don't be surprised if it gives you a hard time, and just keep in mind that you want to be careful that you don't break anything inside the wall. In my case, I left the trim plate on, which helped kind of keep the valve body in place, but if you have plastic pipes like CPVC connecting the valve in the wall, you might want to be careful. Once you get the cartridge out, you want to inspect it to make sure you got all the pieces. As you can see, these little rectangular black gaskets at the front of the cartridge are missing a chunk from right there, and I think there's another little chunk missing from the other side. But as you see, when I take it off and hold it up close, you see that little piece is missing. So we're going to look inside the valve and see if that's where the little piece is. You can also check on the ground of the shower, because sometimes when you pull the cartridge out, the little pieces will fly onto the ground. But the most important thing is you want to make sure that all of those little black pieces are accounted for, because if you don't, they might remain in there when you put the new cartridge in. But as you can see, I used my needle nose pliers, and there's that little piece that was missing. So this is really important. We always do this. We always take it out to make sure that every little piece is accounted for, because trust me, you don't want it to stay in there when you put the new cartridge in, because that could just cause a problem later. And it looks like I was mistaken. It looks like the other side was already intact, or I might have I think I found it on the floor actually, now that I recall. But now we're good. All the pieces are accounted for, so we're going to put our new cartridge in. I recommend only using a genuine Moen 1225 cartridge like this one here. If you use an aftermarket one like the Danko brand or some other brands, there's a good chance it's not going to work right, or it's going to leak as soon as you put it in. So I always just recommend getting genuine Moen. And that little white piece I showed you a second ago is important too, because it helps put the cartridge in. As you see, I'm showing the new cartridge up close. These two, you'll see there's kind of like two notches in the cartridge. You want the two plastic pieces to be up and down, and the two open parts on the left and right. As you see, I'm holding up the horseshoe clip to kind of show you how it goes when it's inside. That horseshoe clip goes down and essentially holds the cartridge in place and straight. Just make sure your new cartridge looks okay, make sure the gaskets don't have any issues or anything, and then you just want to grease it up, which I didn't show, but you want to use some kind of waterproof grease on the cartridge and the black gaskets before inserting it. But once it's greased up, go ahead and insert it as I'm doing here, and sometimes it helps to use this little white piece. Go ahead and stick that little white piece over the cartridge, and then you can actually use that to help get it in. You can even go as far as to put pliers on like I'm doing here. It might be a little difficult, but that little white piece kind of makes it easier to push it in, so just make sure you push it in all the way. If you're not sure if it went in all the way or not, one easy way to test it is to see if your horseshoe clamp will go back on. Your horseshoe clamp will not go back down in properly if the cartridge isn't in all the way. Here you see me kind of hammering on the back of the white piece with the channel locks to get it in that last little bit. I don't always recommend doing it that way, but if it absolutely won't go in, then I would recommend trying it just to get it in there. But once the cartridge is in all the way, you insert your horseshoe clip back in place. As you see, I'm kind of carefully using channel locks to help pull the clip back down all the way, but many times it'll just go back in easily by hand. But if you have to, carefully use a tool to get the horseshoe clip to seat in completely. It looks like I'm having a little trouble here in the video, but I'm going to get it here in a moment. But once the clip's in all the way, now you're ready to turn the water back on to the house and test it out. Before putting the handle on, I recommend turning the water on and just testing it out. When you go to the left, it should be hot, and when you go to the right, it should be cold. If for some reason you have hot on the right and cold on the left, all you got to do is grab this stem and spin it 180 degrees. Then you should have hot on the left and cold on the right. Once you confirm that the temperatures are on the right sides, just press the stop tube back over the cartridge into the valve body, and then go ahead and put your acrylic handle back on and tighten the screw that's holding it on, and then just snap your little snap cap back on there and you're done. Congratulations, you replaced a Moen 1225 cartridge. If you found this video helpful, definitely please drop a like and subscribe to our channel. We try to post videos with helpful tutorials like this and other tips all the time. We're also on every social media platform, so if you're on Facebook, TikTok, Plumbers Only, any of that stuff, definitely follow us there. You can interact. We're happy to answer comments and questions, and hope we see you again, and thanks for watching.